Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Spar for the next 8th round of the Radical Race Series here in 2022 for Season 2. It's 2023 even, isn't it? We've had a fantastic season so far as we've returned to the SR8s, the returning to great action as well, and this circuit is going to provide no different over the course of these two races here this evening. We're entering the final third of the season, things getting more serious with every week that passes, and we're very, very much looking forward to bringing this one to you. My name is Ewan O'Leary, alongside James Parfitt here for this evening. I've been loving the Radical Race Series this season, James. It's been one of the closest, well, it's been the closest that we've covered, one of the closest we've ever seen in the history of this championship, and we just cannot get anyone separated, as evidenced by last week, which basically everybody cancelled each other out.
Yeah, it was a bit of an anticlimax last week due to the fact that obviously that race kind of didn't really mean anything because nobody really improved and nobody went anywhere, did they? Like, literally, nobody scored any more points than anybody else. They're all currently still in the way they are. So, yeah, you know, onwards and upwards we go, I guess, once more.
It was entertaining, but as far as these championship standings are concerned, it really didn't make a dent in it. The only changes are Simon Edwards with a now reduced lead even. He's still got the same amount of points over Paul Crabb, which is 5. They scored the same amount of points. Mike Boosson got 2 points closer. That's pretty much the only change. He's in 3rd. John McCutcheon slipped a couple more back in 4th. We learned that Luke Maxwell won't be here for a couple of the rounds coming up in the final third of this season, so he's probably written off there, although not mathematically. Paul LeMay's in there in 6th. Dan Webster not here again for the 3rd week in a row now, unfortunately, in 7th. Paul Clark is in 8th, ahead of Sergio De La Cruz and George Gonzaga in the top 10. Robert Woodward slipped outside of that top 10 during the last round. He's tied on points with Seth Brown. Wayne Palmer is 13th, just ahead of Paul Godden, with Darryl Taylor inside the top 15. Phil Glover just missing out on that position by a point. David Beasley 17th, ahead of Phil Jocelyn. Then we've got Michael LeMay and Jamie Bird. Martina Ward just outside the top 20. Patrick Charlton falling down to 22nd in the last round. Colin Wynn, Dave Kirkman, Andy Hugo, James Child and Gary Tall were all not here last week, and so didn't gain or lose anything. Graham Brown, David Rodson, Damien G and Ben Underdown round out your 31 drivers who have taken to the Radical Race Series here this season. And 16 of them are taking to this circuit once again. It's a 2-minute 10 lap time, and once again it's Simon Edwards pulling it out the bag when he absolutely needs it. Now, he'll need it in qualifying as well, because as you can see, the main contenders are there. Just look at the top 5, not separated by very much at all, considering the more than 7 kilometres you have around this circuit.
Yeah, definitely. It's the thing is it's full of history is Spar, and one that these guys are going to get used to. You know, we've got that 2-minute 10 lap as well, 2-minute 10.62. Edwards again. I think the only problem with this is whether or not is he going to run his normal skinny wing, no wing setup, that he had. He went for a more balanced medium last week at Suzuka, so it'd be interesting to see what he's going to do this week with everybody else. But I think overall, it's going to be tough for them. They've got to get out. They've got to outlap, fast lap, and maybe one more. Possibly, but it depends on the timing, how they get on. They'll get one altogether. But it's going to be very, very, how can I call it, close, should we say?
It is going to be very close. And I would put solid money on Simon Edwards going with a low downforce setup, by the way, because he very rarely doesn't do that. We'll obviously have more evidence of that during the race. I want to speak on the reverse grid race a little bit as well. The top 10, of course, reversed for the second race of the evening here in Radical Race Series these days, which has really helped the racing and really helped us to enjoy this championship even more than we already were. And I just wonder what the overtaking is going to be like around this circuit, because we saw last week at Suzuka most of the main contenders were able to get towards the front, and in the end the the second race results almost looked like a mirror image of the first. Just with some of the main contenders in opposite positions, etc. At that point. So I just wonder what we're going to see from the reverse grid this time as well. You'll have 10 laps in that second race to get from, the race winner from race 1 will get from 10th to wherever. And I just wonder where they're going to get to, because Spar is a circuit notorious for fantastic racing, and I think somebody's got a real chance of picking up a full 65 points if they absolutely nail everything. Going forward, especially in the second half of these two races.
Yeah, definitely. I think the series is so open, and we have seen people at the front that we wouldn't normally expect there, and they've gone about and done the business. Yeah, they might not have necessarily won, but as for where they're going to go here, you've got the El Rouge Rally on, you've got all that up through, down through Kemmel, you might get them round in Blanchimont as well. But it's if they can do it in places that we wouldn't expect them to do it. If somebody makes a mistake on the exit out of Lacombe, is somebody going to have a run through and try and get through that way? There's a lot of ifs and buts with Spar. It can be a bit of a draft fest. We've seen it before. You go down the straight, you wait, you overtake, next lap they do it, next lap they do it. But they aren't going to be able to have that time in the feature to try and pick one person off per lap. If they're lucky, they might make it to second or third place, but it is going to be difficult. So they're going to be wanting to try and get them in places that I think we wouldn't expect. On the run out of Lacombe down into Rivage, maybe if somebody makes a wide mistake, or are they going to go down into Fagnier and do the inside into the right and left, or are they going to chance it outside Paul Ferrer, or is it going to be what we expect? Kemmel Straight, Blanchimont, bus stop, Lacombe.
Well, it's the question that I would have is it necessary to go for one of those moves at an unorthodox place, or are there enough laps in that second race to be able to get to where you want to be by keeping things sensible? Well, that remains to be seen, of course, throughout the course of things. We're also going to, by the way, do excuse us if we call the same corner different names, because you know what Spar's like. There's about 50 names for every corner, apart from Eau Rouge and Radion, of course. And even then, people argue about which bit is called what and whatever. So we're just going to go with what we want, and you're going to have to deal with it. I apologise in advance, but it is it's quite a nightmare, a commentator's nightmare, I would say, commentating around here. Even though it's one of the icons of motorsport, of course, in no matter what category of car you're in. It still feels unfamiliar because you have to find yourself looking up the corner names, trying to find the origins of each and which one's like which and all of that kind of thing. So, we'll get through that over the course of the day. Simon Edwards, though, is going very well here in the first part of the lap. You can see him going purple in the first two sectors. Luke Maxwell has responded in the third. They're around the same point, actually, in the lap here. It's Paul Crabb who's quickest in the fourth. They're all going to come over the line, I think, as one almost here, with Crabb first of all, then Edwards, then Maxwell, but there's not a lot in between them at all. Paul Crabb's going to set the pace here along with Mike Booston by the looks of things. Crabb goes to the front then with a 2.11, but it doesn't take very long for Simon Edwards to go to the front. He's got a 2.11.1, only 1/10 in front of Maxwell. They're going to need to continue on those improvements in these second laps.
Yeah, they definitely are currently at the moment. We've got Booston. The thing is that they must have gone out, and it's pretty much near enough the same time. The only one that is really struggling here is not matching up is Phil Glover, who's coming through a bus stop currently at the moment. Sergio Dela Cruz, Paul Goddard, Jamie Bird, but all the front runners, Edward Maxwell, McCutcheon and Crabb, all went in one foul swoop. So they all come across the timing line at pretty much the same time, and they're all on the same part of it at the same time again. So it's going to be difficult to see who to follow. Edwards and Maxwell are literally together. McCutcheon's there as well. Crabb's a little bit further up down the road, so he's coming through Rivage currently at the moment. So he's a little bit further up the road than the other guys, but it's going to be an interesting one to see how this one pans out currently at the moment. 4.5 minutes remaining. They've got to go something to get one and one more, I think.
Let's see. I think, well, yeah, it is going to be quite close. We'll wait and see. Just want to get your thoughts a little bit on John McCutcheon here. We do, by the way, see Mark Booston quite far down in the standings at the moment. He certainly will need to improve. But I just wonder, when do you think McCutcheon's still in this? Because we've got a top three covered by 6 points at the moment. Only 23 points, between McCutcheon and Simon Edwards. But at this stage in the season, is that too much to overcome here? Because in my opinion, Christensen needs a pretty big day today to gain some points and really get back involved in this championship after a little bit of a shaky start to this season, scoring no points at the first round, for example. So I just wonder whether you think he's still in this, or whether this is it really do or die now for John McCutcheon in round 9.
From John's point of view, I don't think he'll ever stop. I don't think until we physically say to him, Mr. McCutcheon, it is mathematically impossible for you to win. I don't think he'll stop. I think he will just keep going and going and going until he has worked it all out, until all the job points have been taken into consideration, then he'll stop. But until somebody, not being that person, mind you, until somebody turns around and says he's mathematically possible to get there, then he might stop. But I don't think he'll ever give up.
No, I think you're probably right. It's going to be interesting to see. Of course, he came so close last season, and he was going to be clinching the title at some points of the penultimate round at Brands Hatch, and in the end, by the end of the day, he was out of mathematical contention once again. And you're absolutely right, by the way. As soon as he was out of mathematical contention, I don't remember him taking part in the final round. So yeah, you're absolutely right. He does go right until at the very end, and unfortunately, it wasn't quite a successful ending for him on that occasion. He's very close to pole position right now, though, and he's going to have the pick of the bunch here because he'll see Simon Edwards and Luke Maxwell go over the line before him, and then he'll have to run to the line to try and take that pole position away. This is Darrell Taylor through the first couple of corners. Through Lecombe and Malmedy, but further up the road, just a little bit further up the road, Simon Edwards is doing very, very well through the first couple of sectors. Purple in 1 and 2. Luke Maxwell's not even getting personal bests at the moment. Paul Crabb, Seth Brown and Mike Bootson are all done for the session, by the way. This is the last lap and the last opportunity for most of the drivers to get their lap times in. Mike Booson's going to be disappointed with 7th, you would imagine. That is quite a long way down, really, for him. And his championship charge, only 6 points off the championship lead coming into this one. Luke Maxwell's gone off the road, I think, on this lap, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to improve on this lap at all if he can even get to the line here. But Simon Edwards has got absolutely time in hands now. Purple in the first 2 sectors. He's about to come across the 4th. It's purple again. McCutcheon has responded in the middle, but I don't think he's going to be able to find the time. It's a little bit wide into the final chicane for Edwards, but this should still be enough, even with a very scruffy final chicane. It's over the line, and is it an improvement? It is for Simon Edwards. That should be the lap that sees him onto the pole position ahead of John McCutcheon. Oh no! John McCutcheon goes over the line and he steals it right at the end. Maybe, just maybe, those little mistakes at the final chicane for Simon Edwards, because in the end he looked to have it in hand, but McCutcheon has stolen it from him right at the end.
Told you. He is never gonna stop until the point of where he can't. That's the thing, and he didn't stop. He went and took pole on a 2:10.566, absolutely flying. Sergio De La Cruz has come across the line. He's moved himself up into 7th. Wayne Palmer is another one as well, got 9th. That's going to be the end for most of these. Jamie Bird jumps Paul Godden, and then Phil Glover and Phil Jocelyn. I told you he's not going to stop, and he absolutely flew that lap. It was incredible. 2:10.566, amazing.
Simon Edwards especially is going to be kicking himself there, because we saw a couple of mistakes he made into those final couple of corners. He'll be very frustrated with that, but I would definitely watch out for him on the run up towards Lecombe for the first time, because he is going to be very quick in a straight line, as he always is, and he will be challenging for that race lead very, very early on. Let's have a look at your starting grid heading for round 9 of the Radical Race Series here this evening. It will be John McCutcheon with that late lap time on the pole, ahead of Simon Edwards. Luke Maxwell on Paul Crabb on row 2. Paul Clark inside the top 5 with Seth Brown. Sergio De La Cruz snuck up into 7th, ahead of Mike Boosson, who's in 8th. Wayne Palmer and Michael LeMay round out the top 10, with Jamie Bird and Paul Godden sharing row 6. And it will be Darrell Taylor and David Beasley behind them, with Phil Glover and Phil Jocelyn rounding out the grid. I think we've got a very interesting race set up here at Spar. Round 9, championship coming towards an end. Edwards is massive one to watch up towards Lecombe on the first lap.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the thing. If McHutchinson can get past the first lap, he might be able to settle down a little bit. But you know Edwards is going to come at him, and it's going to be short, sharp racing, and it will be, Edwards will try and get the run all the way up through El Rougemadion. There's no doubt that he's going to have a go if he can stay close enough. It's all about the start and how McHutchinson will get off the line, how Maxwell will do as well, because if Maxwell can follow McHutchinson through, they might be able to get Edwards off that line and maybe affect his run out of La Source and up through El Rougemadion. And if anybody starts trying to go too wide, well, they're definitely going to be brave, should we say, for this opening lap, because I've got a funny feeling these cars are going to be quite slippery until they at least start getting warped for them.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very tricky indeed. Can't wait for this race to start now and see the climax of this season, because it has been a fantastic one so far. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. One of the closest we've ever seen. Certainly the closest we've broadcasted here on JPB. And I can't wait to see who comes out on top within it. Let's see, 6 laps coming up at Spar here at round 9 of the Radical Race Series. John McHutchison with that late lap time stole the pole position away from Simon Edwards. Now he's going to try and convert that to a race win. The lights come on here in Belgium and we are underway. Edwards goes nowhere. Maxwell is already in front of him alongside. In fact, he's through the middle, and for the lead here is Luke Maxwell. Down to the outside and going to La Source with 3 wide with the championship contenders. Edwards very wide, and Paul Crabb will go down the inside and take both of them. He's up to second place. McHutchinson holds on to his lead for the moment. They'll run down towards Eau Rouge and the plunge uphill to Radical as well. McHutchinson in front, but he's going to be slipstream like you wouldn't believe right now. Looks like Crabb is just struggling on straight line speed as well. Luke Maxwell pulls out already. Here comes Simon Edwards. He's going to be quick in a straight line. He goes through the middle, does he? Not quite. He's going to back off for the moment. Up towards Lecon they'll go. And it's single file inside the top 5. Side by side further back, but McHutchinson converts pole position to an early lead.
Yeah, he definitely did. He got it there as well. He did what he had to do. He had to defend that inside line down into Lagoon. That was without a shadow of a doubt. He needed that line to basically be able to hold Paul Crabb back. Crabb got an absolute flyer, as you say. Maxwell then, Edwards did not go anywhere off the start. Maxwell jumped him as well. It was the one thing we said all about the start, how Edwards gets off it. He didn't get off it well, and now Crabb and Maxwell are in front of him, and Mr. Paul Clark is coming up behind him as well. So he's got a lot to fight on currently at the moment with the drivers there as well. Other gainers currently at this moment in time are only Jamie Bird. There's only 2 people that gain places in that opening straight. Was Paul Crabb, Jamie Bird, both 2 respectively. Palmer and LeMay lose 1, but everybody else is currently free stationary where they are at this moment in time, on track from where their group was spot was.
That's been the most surprising thing I've seen today, if I'm honest with you. I thought it was going to be a very, very, well, not messy start, but I thought there was going to be a lot of positional change, and it certainly seemed like there was. I think Darrell Taylor might have had some problems. No, he's just lost a few places down at the back of the field. Maxwell is very quick in a straight line here. We talk a lot about Simon Edwards and his low wing. Well, it looks like Maxwell's taken a leap out of his book, and he's going down the inside into the final corner. Not quite. Paul Crabb will hold on for the moment.
Yeah, Paul Clark held on from Seth Brown as well. And further back, David Beasley. Phil Glover's into the pits already. Not entirely sure what the problem was there with Phil. He hasn't been off anywhere, so unfortunately it looks like he may have, I don't know, not put enough fuel in maybe. Who knows as we go on now. But it is McHutchinson, Crabb, Maxwell, Edwards, and we're expecting this gentleman here. He can make a massive difference if he can get onto the back of Simon Edwards with the draft here and pull him as it goes down after him, down through El Rougemadion. And I think it could be that, you know, he's just going to stay in contact. He can move up 1 by 1 if he can hang in the draft.
Certainly helping him hold on from Seth Brown at the moment. He's actually under pressure himself from Mark Cookson up towards Lecon. He's not going to be able to lose any places into there, but it's single file at the moment at the front of the field. McCutcheon has a second or more over the rest of the field, but behind that it is single file, and I've got to say that is a surprise early on. I was expecting, you know, big battles so far, but that's not quite been the case as of right now. Cutchinson still leading, Crabb holding on to his second place, and then it's Maxwell applying the pressure from third. Simon Edwards up there in fourth as well, and they were single file in the background. Very, very surprising opening moments of this race, I've got to say.
Yeah, it's all kind of as they were. It's all kind of nicey. Nobody's really trying to make that move. I don't know if they're not trying to make the move or they can't make the move because the draft is being used so effectively by everybody up in front of them. It's not what we're normally seeing, is it, to be honest?
No. We've spoken a lot about the low wings, I suppose, but if everybody's got low wings on, then I guess it makes almost no difference at all, and the slipstream will become less effective if everybody has gone for that strategy.
Well, yeah, this is also true, but then I suppose we've got to ask ourselves, why wouldn't you go for that strategy at a track like Spar?
It's something we'll have to find out after the race and see what the drivers are going for. And of course, we'll see it develop a little bit more because we did see it Suzuka again. And I know Suzuka's a very different circuit to this one. However, especially in terms of technical difficulty, it's at the moment because Seth Brown's gone around in the final corner. And Luke Maxwell's gone as well from third place, Luke Maxwell's gone. Two unrelated, I believe. However, both of them off at the bus stop chicane, and they've dropped to the back of the group. 13th and 14th from the very front. This is Luke Maxwell, as we basically caught Seth Brown's. It was pretty much on his own on the brakes. The unusual part about Maxwell's is that he was at the second part of the chicane. That is exceptionally weird. An uncharacteristic, unforced error, really.
Just looked like he put too much pressure on that right foot, and unfortunately spun the rear wheels up. And then there was just nowhere for him to go. He just went straight round in a circle. Kept the power on, got out the way as we saw, because he went off into the bus stop section as you can see. But from his point of view now, if we're seeing that they're very single file throughout the whole first 3 laps, how is Maxwell going to make any difference on this? He's not. I think he's going to be where he is now, down in 14th, unless he can perform a miracle and manage to jump himself out. But I can't see it myself.
The really damaging thing is that he's going to be outside the top 10 and he can't even benefit from the reverse grid. I can't remember who did that last week. Was it Paul Crabb, maybe? Who had a bad first race but won the second one, and so basically salvaged most of the points he lost. He finished in 10th place in the first race, but since he qualified right up there, or was right up there for the second, he was very dangerous for that race and ended up winning the second one. So he can make it work, but he has to make it to the top 10. And you're right, I can't see that happening right now, given the battling we're seeing and some of the gaps that we're seeing as well. Quite astonishing, really.
I think, we're looking at 1.5 second gaps here. We would have thought if he'd stayed in the draft. We talk about it, and Edwards has spoken about it before. The car's got so much grip, so much pull, but yet nothing is remotely happening currently with anyone that, we're here with Bird. He's been in that 3/10 gap all the way down Blanchimont. And you would have thought he would have been able to pull in at least remotely down to 2/10, a tenth, whatever. But it's just not making any difference. It's like all of a sudden they don't go anywhere. There's just this invisible wall between them. It's really bizarre this week because normally you would have seen them make that move, seen them get the draft, and hurry along. Look at Daytona as a prime example. Daytona on the draft is massive, but there's nothing. It's really quite bizarre. This single file racing we're seeing, and nobody can seem to get closer to anybody else.
Wayne Palmer was quite close to Jamie Bird down towards the source on that lap, but couldn't get the exit he required. But Crabb quite quick at the moment on a straight line and gets quite close to John McKinson from time to time, but no battle for the lead for the moment. There is a battle for 12th place going on though. It's Seth Brown who's looking to make the move. Now he'll go for it down towards the inside of Lecom, and this is not going to be too much hard work. The man driving the green machine up in towards 12th place, showing us all that it can be done. And maybe, I guess I can put forward another theory as a result of that overtake, is that maybe the drivers inside the top 10 are so evenly matched with one another that actually there isn't much pace difference between them, and so there's very little scope for there to actually be positional changes when everybody's a so similar ability to everyone else.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe they've all got a setup and they're all running it pretty much the same. Low wing, they're trying to get the straight line speed more out of this SR8, and it's just not making a difference. They're not making an impact on each other. They're all around. The thing is, there's a second gap down to basically Michael LeMay, give or take, on lap times. His last time out 2:11.8. The leader was on a 2:11.1, so 8/10 back. So it's a very interesting scenario that we're seeing, that nobody is really gaining much here, Wayne Palmer is gaining on Jamie Bird, but that's basically it at the moment. Maxwell's pulled in some speed over Phil Jocelyn. I suppose in hindsight we could probably expect that, but it's going to be the 2.3 second gap down to David Beasley that could be the bit of a problem for the top 10, or Phil Goddard. I don't think he's going to get there. He might get a couple of places, but even this half-second gap, you would expect this to be coming down rapidly. And it's not as rapid as we thought.
To be fair, I'm not surprised that Hutchinson has held the lead, because he did increase this gap to a second at its widest point, maybe 1.2. And so I'm not overly surprised about that, but some of the others certainly are surprising. Let's see, as Paul Crabb just gains in the slipstream right now. We're on the penultimate lap, by the way. This race very much nearing its end, and Crabb just putting himself in a position to maybe go for the overtake. 3 points on the line here, of course. Crabb right in behind, and if he were to be able to take the win with Edwards staying in third place, they'll be tied on points heading into the next race. So it's these things that we've got to think about. But as we said earlier on, at least in my opinion here, John McCutcheon probably needs this win for his championship.
Yeah, he definitely does. As I say, and we've repeated it until it's mathematically impossible for the Scotsman to not be there. I think he will carry on fighting and fighting and fighting. Wayne Bird is having a nice... Wayne Palmer, sorry, mixing the names up, creating children. Wayne Palmer, Jamie Bird and Sergio Dela Cruz here are battling away 4th, 6th, 7th and 8th. But we're going to be on the final lap very, very shortly. And McCutchenson's still got about half a second. Paul Crabb's got about 4 tenths. Wayne Palmer is looking very, very racy here over Jamie Bird. It might be interesting to keep an eye on that one to see how that plans out. But yeah, I think it's going to be close for the last lap. I don't know if this man's going to get caught. I really don't know if McCutcheon is going to be within that area where they're going to be able to catch him, to be fair. I think if he can keep trying to keep it out at 5 tenths every time they enter Blanchimont or El Rouge Radion, I just don't think they're going to get close enough.
I think he's going to be all right. Here we are in towards the final chicane for the penultimate time in the sprint race of the Radical Race Series here this evening. Out through the bus stop chicane they'll go. Oh, it's a slide from Crabb exactly when he didn't need it. Not only has that put himself away for the win here, it might have allowed this man to get involved. Well, this could be very interesting now. Up towards La Source they go. Edwards needs an exit like you have never seen before, really, to have a go here, and it looks like he might have got one. Just be careful not to get too close up through Rouge and Radion, because he won't be able to follow quite as closely. He won't be able to slingshot past in towards Lecon. Up the hill they'll go. Maximum attack from both of them as well. McCutcheon desperate not to give anything to him away. Here comes Edwards on the outside line. They're both cutting McCutcheon actually up towards the chicane. Crabb will be kicking himself here. Edwards on the outside line. Might well have this one. He's late on the brakes, but Crabb's later. He tries to push you out through the first part, side by side, between the two championship rivals. Absolutely fantastic racing. Run the outside for Edwards at the Malmedy corner. And now comes Crabb down the inside at Bruxelles. This is fantastic. Still side by side into the middle sector. And they will not let go. Down the inside again. Edwards, they make contact. They've gotten away with it. Crabb will just about hold on.
Yeah, no, that was... Yeah, half a lap round side by side, coming down out of Rivage down into No Name. There was that contact as well. Crabb's made a mistake. I don't know if he's going to let Edwards through, is he?
I think he is. I think he's just let Edwards through, almost out of guilt. I don't think he did anything wrong there, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think he did either. I know there was...
He thinks he did.
Yeah, well, I can't see whether or not why.
No, I can't see why at the moment either, but Edwards has been given the place, and it looks like neither of them are going to be able to get the race win here. That's going to go to John McCutcheon by the look of things. Something really remarkable happens in the final couple of moments. Just under 3 seconds the margin in the end. That will flatter him a little bit because of the battle we just saw on that last lap. They go down in towards the final chicane. Nothing going to change there. Out front in the sprint race, it's going to be John McCutcheon to take the first win at Spar. Here after 6 laps. Fantastic drive from him to hold on from the front. Edwards reclaimed second place at the end, with Paul Clark beating Mike Booson to the end very narrowly indeed for the top 5 positions. And further behind, Luke Maxwell is going to have to start this second race from 13th after a disaster of a first race.
Yeah, he literally gained 1 place over Phil Jocelyn. That was it. He literally just gained one place, didn't go anywhere. Unfortunately, Daryl Taylor is coming all the way down into through Blanchimont now. We did say it was going to be difficult. We did say it was going to be hard, and it was hard. And then, you know, we're used to seeing Maxwell come back through the field like a hot knife through butter. Unfortunately, it was more like a wet sponge in the bath. It kind of just didn't go anywhere. It just, that was it. It was a really weird race to sit and watch and see these guys not actually go anywhere at all at a racetrack where you would have thought there would have been more.
You can write that one down, by the way, like a wet sponge in the bath. For
I know, I quite like that one. Look, that was good, wasn't it?
Quite like it. No, I'm not criticising it. I'm just saying write it down. That's all. Excuse me, John McCutcheon taking the win there, then ahead of Simon Edwards. Then it was Paul Crabb joining them on the podium. Paul Clark and Mike Poulsen inside the top 5, with Sergio De La Cruz holding off Jamie Bird, Wayne Palmer and Michael LeMay to the line. Paul Godden joined them inside the top 10 and will be on pole for race 2. David Beasley will be 11th, that of Seth Brown and Luke Maxwell, who both had spins at the bus stop chicane. Phil Jocelyn 14th, ahead of Daryl Taylor, who had a trip through pit lane, and Phil Glover, who had quite a long stop in pit lane and must have gotten damage on that opening lap, I would imagine. But an interesting first race, and now I'm intrigued as to how these top contenders are going to aim to get through the field in this second race.
Well, I can tell you now, Paul LeMay said, "Hi guys, the front boys are running no wing. Very difficult to overtake." So that was what we said.
Yeah.
I would explain our problem.
Yeah.
But do you want to chat with Phil Glover while we're on a brief little warm-up really quickly?
Yes, let's do that. It was one of my theories, by the way, because, of course, the slipstream effect is a lot less when you are on such low wings. Let's bring in Phil Glover, though, just for a minute before this race, Phil. Thanks for joining us once again. What happened in that first race to you?
Yeah, I had transmission problems. My clutch unmapped itself, so as soon as I took my foot slightly off the clutch, I rolled forward or moved forward. So, yeah, then I had to go in the pits. And while I was driving round, I at least had a chance to read all the number plates.
And what about race 2? What are you expecting from starting from the back?
Well, hopefully my clutch is all right now, so that'll be a start in the right direction, won't it?
Absolutely. Phil, we look forward to seeing you out there and talking to you after the race. Good luck for race 2.
Yeah, no problem. Speak to you later.
Thanks very much. Phil Glover there chatting to us after a disappointing first race. I don't think it's unfair to say. He'll be out there starting from the back, as I just mentioned, in the second race. 10 laps, just a little bit longer. And as Paul LeMay mentioned there, very difficult to overtake with such low wings. We'll see how they manage it. Paul Godden on the front, though, ahead of Michael LeMay. Wayne Palmer and Jamie Bird are going to be on row 2. Ahead of Sergio De La Cruz and Mike Poulsen, who's got an important race coming up from 6th place there. Paul Clark and Paul Crabb will be sharing row 4, with Simon Edwards and John McCutcheon sharing row 5, as they so often have. David Beasley and Seth Brown will be sharing row 6, ahead of Luke Maxwell and Phil Jocelyn. Daryl Taylor and Phil Glover will be bringing up the rear together. Well, interesting prospect. 10 laps ahead of us, and very important laps as well for those starting in the midfield, starting at the back as well, because it is pretty difficult to overtake when everybody is running such low downforce. The lights are coming on at Spar, and the feature race is underway. Paul Godden from the inside line is going to take an early lead here in towards La Source in what's a very important start. Mike Poulsen through the middle. He's aiming to take third already from 5th place. It's a bit of a mess in towards the first turn. It is La Source after all, but we have got through cleanly. Side by side between multiple drivers down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Then it's Paul Godden who will take the lead here, ahead of LeMay, then Palmer. It's side by side between Poulsen and De La Cruz, and between McCutcheon and Paul Clark. Oh no, big contact, huge crash on the exit of Radion. It's Paul Crabb and Paul Clark who have both been caught up in it. I think McCutcheon was involved in their battle as well. It's a dive from Michael LeMay as well, in towards Le Combe. A very dramatic start with big implications, and there's even more as well in the background. Huge moment, and there's another driver off. Jamie Bird is off with LeMay, Palmer and De La Cruz. What a chaotic start this has been.
Yeah, that was unfortunate there as well. It looks like Paul Clark Wayne Palmer, Clark and Crab are in the pit. Sergio De La Cruz went off, Jamie Bird went off, Michael LeMay went off, and John McHutchinson all at the same time there. McHutchinson seems to have come out the best one of it. He's still sitting in 4th place currently at the moment, but he hasn't been, obviously he was to one of the ones that were off track. We can have a look back at what happened to Paul Crab here. I've got a funny feeling it may have been running up through El Rouge and Radion side by side.
Clark has gone through on McCutcheon there. Oh, and I'm afraid Paul Clark has himself and brought down, I'm afraid. That was an attempted off-track move, and I'm afraid you can't do that. You can't overtake off the road, and you certainly can't hit someone into the wall like that. It's a miracle no one else has caught up, actually, but it's had huge championship implications, and I'm afraid Paul Clark has got a bit to answer for there.
Yeah, I think the question will be, though, whether or not Crab allowed him room to come back up. This is De La Cruz. Palmer went into LeMay, then De La Cruz went round, and that is how that one all panned out as well. And unfortunately for JP Bird, he overshoots coming out of Marmody and goes off on the run down into Ravage.
Oh, say that. I think Jamie Bird might have got assistance there by McCutcheon, or Booson maybe, I'm not entirely sure. However, Paul Godden has now lost the lead. I've no idea what's happened to him, but he's falling through the standings like a rock at the moment, and that's not ideal. But we do have Booson, McCutcheon, Edwards and Maxwell, 1, 2, 3 and 4. McCutcheon was applying pressure to Godden down in towards the final chicane as well, and I just wonder whether he cracked under it. Let's see, down in towards the final turn. Oh dear, he has an unforced error really.
Yeah, and then he would have got a slow down for cutting the chicane off because he was trying to avoid everybody else. So unfortunately for him, it is Bousson now out in front with McHutchinson and Edwards there as well. McHutchinson's looked like he's got past Edwards, he did, and now he is up into second, Edwards third. Maxwell making a bit more of a shining light of himself, up 9 places currently at the moment, and is currently sitting in 4th. A lot of gainers in the front half of the table, you can see them there on your left-hand side, but there was a lot of drops as well. Godden and Palmer, both sitting stickers, boys, dropping down the order. Godden's had another incident and is now jumped straight back into the pits there. So unfortunately it looks like Paul Godden, Paul Clark and Paul Crab are out. Wayne Palmer looks like he is still going, so he is back on track. Sergio De La Cruz is still going again with Michael LeMay as well. They're still going, Jamie Bird's still going. So Phil Glover's had a bit of a bonus here. He's picked up 7 places already at the moment and is moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race 2, but it is currently Mr. Bousson out on track.
Yep, out front, and at the moment getting points as well, and he did. He needs them. 12 points back from Simon Edwards after race 1, and he will need these. So let's see. I think that graphic though on the left-hand side basically showed us who's had issues in this race and who hasn't. The top 9 have gotten through cleanly. The rest of them have had problems. Paul Crab has repaired the damage, by the way, and nearly 2 laps down, he's got back out onto the circuit. But he's in 14th place, crucially. That's going to get him another 17 points. And to add to the 20 he's got at the moment, he is going to limit the damage, but it can't be understated what a huge accident that was from the championship. And it could well be the moment he looks back on and realises that might be the one where he lost the title, because the best drop round that Crab's got to fall back on at the moment, the safety net, is only 23 points, which is quite low, really. Win more points by winning one of the sprint races. So Crab has got to get out there and score more points and finish this race. He's got to try and catch as many drivers as he possibly can, because this is exceptionally damaging for his championship.
Yeah, it definitely is. There could be, and I'll say this in the loosest term possible, a case for Paul Clark. He was on the outside. Crab knew he was there. There wasn't much room on the left for him to come back on track. He's tried to come back on, contact's made. Now, whether or not we sit back and go, that was all Clark, because I don't really know what he should have done in a very fast corner like El Rouge Radion. He's definitely not going to hit the brakes, let's put it that way, and try and slow up and to try and slot in behind Crab. Should Crab have given him room? That's going to be a question as well that I'm sure one for the people that we will have a conversation about it. But at the end of the day, it hasn't helped either man. So Clark maybe should have braked, Crab maybe should have given him room to return on track. But either way, currently, both men are not on track currently, and they're down in 14th and 15th. Both still running, mind you.
They are both still. Oh yeah, Clark did actually get out on the road again as well. For me though, yeah, I don't think I would blame anybody other than Clark, unfortunately, for getting involved in there. Let's not forget that he was behind Crab on the run up the hill there, and as they got to the crest of it, Clark had a bit more speed, went to the right-hand side, went off the road to try and make himself take lessons.
Just trying to not get there.
So this is the onboard from Crab. So he now, there's Clark. You see,
do you see what I mean?
For me,
could there have been an argument that he wasn't
well,
left the
first
room?
Of all, Crab's got McCutcheon alongside him quite some way. Yeah, for me, Clark has not covered himself in glory there at all.
Well, let us know in chat. Let us know if you're sat there thinking about it and a difference of opinion to young Ewan and myself here. Some will say Crab didn't give him room to return on track. Others will say Paul Clark should have hit the brakes. I'm not sure.
Generally, I'm in favour of someone, letting someone else back on the circuit, but I think it depends how you got off the circuit. And if you've got off the circuit by trying to make an overtake off there instead of lifting off and falling in behind and going for it at the comp, then I think you do have a case to answer for. But anyway, the battle for the lead's very much on here. Excuse me, Mike Bousson to the inside line, nearly 3 wide here with McCutcheon. Right round the outside goes the Scotsman and straight to the lead there. Almost coordinated between the teammates. I'm sure it wasn't, but McCutcheon gets to the front.
Oh, I don't know. It did look like a very team swappy move there, I'm not going to lie, between the guys at Radline. Maybe Bousson's going to park himself in front of Edwards now and hope back him into Maxwell there as well, because it did look a little bit easy, and I've known Bousson to defend a little bit harder than that. He almost rolled over like a Tottenham Hotspur defence there and just allowed McCutcheon through.
Football joke for those of you following.
Hey, mate, I'm a Spurs fan, trust me, there's nothing worse than making a joke about your own team, but they do sometimes let things in rather easily.
Yes, I know that feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
Recently. Anyway, McCutcheon really running away with this one. I don't think it actually was coordinated between the two, by the way. However, McCutcheon does look quicker. The reason I don't think it was coordinated is because Bousson is in better place in the championship. So if you're going to coordinate it for anyone, I would argue you would do it for Bousson. But at the moment, it's McCutcheon who's got all the speed, and Bousson who's maybe struggling. And we saw that in qualifying. Let's not forget that Bousson only qualified in 8th place. Maybe he doesn't quite have the pace of the 3 around him at the moment.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't, and I think that's the thing. Oh, Maxwell again at the bus stop. Luke.
It's the right-hander instead of the left, but that won't matter to Maxwell. He's lost it again, losing more ground. Back to 8th place. Real disappointment for him.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe he's just getting too enthusiastic about putting his foot on that pedal, but you really don't want to be doing that in the bus stop. You've just got little grip coming off a long straight anyway, and your back end's loose, and you just try to slam on an accelerator and hope it sticks. It's never going to work. And 5 laps here to go, and he's back again down in 8th place. He might get Phil Jocelyn again. Don't forget they were the people who Maxwell went past in race 1. But will he get up to Bird again? 3.6 seconds, 5 laps. I just don't know.
Don't know for the moment. Let's see. Side by side between Maxwell and Jocelyn. That's a nice move around the outside towards Lecombe. And through goes the one-time series champion, Luke Maxwell. Mike Bousson chasing down his teammate, using the slipstream a little bit of McCutcheon here to hold off Edwards. And we're about halfway through this one now. But still a bit of a stalemate here, and I wonder whether we are going to see this for quite some laps to come now. Because it's going to be an important battle, of course, but as long as Bousson has the slipstream of McCutcheon, and with everybody running low downforce, I just don't see how Edwards can get through.
No, I can't see it either. Handsome Stu YouTube chat. What do we think of Tottenham? Well, I'm a Spurs fan, and I still think currently they're not doing too well. But overall... But it's a difficult one for that at the moment as we go back to Edwards, Bousson and McCutcheon. And then Michael LeMay is getting onto the back of Phil Glover here. Glover could be under pressure. And Wayne Palmer trying to get onto the back of Darryl Taylor. So there's 3 separate battles going on at the moment. But it's all about this one with Edwards and Bousson. And I think if Bousson can stay in McCutcheon's toe, I don't think Edwards can get past. I just can't see it.
No, I can't see it either. We cross the halfway mark then in this race. And unless the two teammates out front start to battle, then it's going to be tricky, I think. And towards the source they go. Fastest lap of the race so far for John McCutcheon. And we're in the 2:11s again. And considering we're on race fuel, so close to qualifying pace, it's fantastic. I know these cars get quicker as you go along. However, well, to a point, of course, the tyres will go off eventually. But these lap times are quite phenomenal. Up the hill they'll go again. That'll be an off track for Poussin as well. We'll hope he doesn't have a slowdown. As a result of that, he'll be in the slipstream with his teammate now, holding off Simon Edwards. Up towards the com they'll go. McCutcheon not interested in defending. Edwards not that interested in attacking, not least because he can't. Poussin hedging his bets by going down the middle of the road. And he'll hold on from behind. It's going to be very interesting to see how the teammates play this now, because you've got one driver who in my opinion, is John McCutcheon, who's just a little bit quicker right now, going for the double, going for the weekend sweep. And you've also got Poussin, who's slightly better placed in the championship, who could really close the gap with a race win here. So it's very awkward to work it out between the teammates. However, there hasn't been a lot of team play between them so far. Maybe they are just going to fight it out, driver versus driver.
Yeah, maybe as well. Paul Collins in YouTube. Slowed down, didn't clear the black flag. Need to work on my first lap fuel braking. I just couldn't get the car stopped. So that was going down into the bus stop, of course, and then obviously he would have got to slow down from there as well, which would have resulted in the black flag if it wasn't cleared in time. So unfortunately for Paul Collins, he's out of this evening's racing and sitting back now, relaxing and enjoying it. If the two up front, I'm not going to say they're going to work together, because, you know, teammates don't always, but they could use each other quite well here. Buisson could use Maxwell, and then maybe they could swap, and then Maxwell could use Buisson, and it could keep going like that, and then Edwards might not get a chance, but I don't know, maybe I'm just a little bit more hopeful. And Maxwell's
had more problems, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Not sure where. I think he was at Stabilo, maybe.
Oh. Jamie Bird.
Right behind. Oh, Jocelyn. Oh, he gets on the grass and the curb on the outside. It's not been Luke Maxwell's day, and it's probably raining and pouring for him now.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, it's not been ideal. 2 mistakes in the bus stop. Edwards got a little bit of a better run, tried to get on the gas, didn't quite get the back end stuck. Got a bit of a slide. He could do, now this is where Buisson could do with some help here. He could do with Maxwell, McHutchinson, maybe just lift it a tad, just a tad to pull him back in, because otherwise he is going to be under hard attack here. He's going on the defensive straight away, straight to the right hand side of the circuit, places his car in the middle. He's got one move he can make, not made it yet. Edwards is looking at poking his nose out, just saying hi at the moment. Oh, Buisson got away with that one. It got away.
And it's partly down to Simon Edwards' run out the first corner as well. Didn't quite get the exit he needed. He had the positioning there, but just got on the power too early and slid really. And when you don't have that slingshot, it's very hard to get through. But also, you mentioned about the slipstream, but McCutcheon wasn't actually that far in front, and so Buisson was able to use that slipstream and still able to stay in front. So even if Buisson's at that kind of distance, if the slipstream is still effective, then it is hard to see how these positions are going to change with 3 laps to go at the line.
Yeah, it's very difficult to see how this one's going to work out. I think Edwards might have a go, but it's going to be tough. It's very going to be tough here. Glover, LeMay, Jocelyn, Dela Cruz, these guys are still battling away quite nicely as they go round Pouan now. There's 4-car train there as well. They're going to be looking at coming together, and at the same time with Michael LeMay, he's going to be trying to get involved with Phil Glover and Phil Jocelyn here. Jocelyn at the front of this queue, mind you, and he's got, 3 laps to try and hold on to it here. Can Jocelyn hold on to 7th place with Glover, LeMay, Cruz, Taylor and Palmer all closing in on him with a gap of basically about 1.5 seconds, if that.
This is very, very exciting stuff. Oh, and side by side as well. That's Dela Cruz on the inside of Michael LeMay. Phil Glover trying his best not to get involved by the looks of things here, because this could, it's got disaster written all over it in some circumstances. Through Blanchamont they'll go. Very wide from LeMay as the aero wash just gets worse and worse as you go down the line. LeMay down the inside. Oh, Glover trying to go for it as well. Now he's going for it on the outside. Glover goes way off and way deep on the brakes. Everyone will gain a place, and it's, oh dear, Darryl Taylor nearly losing it through the corner there as well. Wayne Palmer has got big damage to the rear end. Not sure whether he just picked that up right now or whether he had that early on, but that'll be affecting him. It's 3 wide in the background for 10th place. What a battle that is down the inside for Daryl Taylor it is on the very inside. Then Wayne Palmer, who was slopped in, and then Phil Glover. What a fantastic battle that was.
Yeah, further down now, they're doing an absolutely stellar job. Palmer is in the middle. You can have a look and see what we're looking at in terms of damage on the back of on the front of Phil Glover's there. As you can see, that's Wayne Palmer's Sim Stickers car in front. You can see the front left all bent up there as well. It could have just been a brief little bit of contact. Glover's going for it, mind you. They're on their way down into Lacombe. He's got the inside line. Has Jocelyn held on as well? He's not. He lost a place to Michael LeMay. Did Wayne Palmer hold on? He did. I'm very surprised at that because Glover at one point looked like he was right beside him. But it is banging away down here in that mid-pack, doing an absolutely stellar job. And Phil Jocelyn is now trying to get up to the very badly damaged Michael LeMay in front. So it looks like they've all had a little bit of a love ta-ta-ta down here at this end of the table. They've all maybe, just maybe, might have tapped each other at some point. And now Phil Glover has got Luke Maxwell behind him. If you're going to want anyone, you don't want a former champion to come through as well, because Glover, Maxwell in hindsight, could gain quite a lot of places here if he can clear Phil Glover as soon as physically possible, and at the moment he's not doing it down through Fanier and on the way out into Paul Ferrer. So it's going to be tricky, but Edwards and Bousson, Edwards looks like he's closed right up as well on the run down into Blanchimont, coming down into the bus stop. Is he going to make the move? Not.
Yeah, well, look anyway. Maxwell through on Glover, by the way, who looks like he's just actually gone off the road, has he? Oh, he has, yeah, out of the curb, Paul Ferret.
Yeah.
We'll get back going again now, but all right, too. Maxwell through and in, and there's still a cruise right round the outside of Blanchimont as well. Here comes Daryl Taylor on the outside. Jocelyn very late on the brakes there, and he might have clashed into Della Cruz actually. Side by side between all of them. And of course, there's eat bananas on the side. Didn't realise that at the time. There we are. Up on the outside line of Phil Jocelyn into La Source, and it's very late on the brakes from Taylor, but not with the position really to make that one work, and so they'll stay single file. But this is a fantastic battle for 8th place.
Yeah, and I don't think this is over yet. If you watch Daryl Taylor or Phil Jocelyn going up through our Rouge and Rowdy on here, he's going to close right in at the moment, and possibly could get him before he even gets halfway down the straight. He's pulled out very early. I'm not going to lie, that's a very early one from Daryl Taylor. If he's going to do it, he's giving himself a job to try and go around the outside. Job done. Job done. And that could be a difference in wing on that one, Ewan. The fact that Daryl Taylor just cruised past Jocelyn.
Well, I think Jocelyn's problem was that he pulled out to defend, but actually normally when you pull alongside a train like that, you're normally starting to hit the air. But the driver who's defending is still in the slipstream because they've stayed on the racing line. But Jocelyn moved off the racing line to defend, and so lost that benefit of the slipstream. And so Taylor was able to drag back past him. Now Wayne Palmer fancies his chance on Phil Jocelyn. As David Beasley just defends a top 5 place right now. Palmer getting very close in towards just out of Pouhon and in towards the campus chicane. These two are just leaving right now. And there is going to be a change because as Palmer tried to make the move on Jocelyn, Maxwell gets through up into 11th place. There they are. And that was a nice move in the end on the penultimate lap. It's a little bit too little too late for Maxwell really, but he's just getting the positions that he can.
Yeah, and he's got an opportunity here to move at least 3 positions up if he can make moves over the last lap. He's got Phil Jocelyn. I think this is going to be done on that run down into Blanchimont. We are on the last lap now. Half a second up front and a second behind that. So Edwards has lost a lot of time. Maxwell's going to sweep round the outside of Jocelyn through Blanchimont. Job done. That's another one gained. Can he get on the brakes quick enough? Obviously, we've seen him have trouble with the bus stop. So let's hope on this penultimate lap he doesn't this time around. Daryl Taylor, however, does have problems, and that puts him under attack once more here, as well as Maxwell pulled right into him there. Taylor looked like he got a little bit went in a little bit too hot, and unfortunately dropped right into the clutches of Maxwell.
It'll be the battle for 9th place by the looks of things then that will entertain us to the line, because the leaders are going to stay as they are up towards Lacombe. Up in this group though, it is not going to stay the same, I would argue. Maxwell is going to get in the slipstream here and possibly make a move. Up through Rouge and Radion they'll go one last time here in the Radical Race Series here for round 9. Into the slipstream he'll go. There'll be quite some overspeed now for Luke Maxwell, and only one last chance into Lecon, but Taylor's got good straight line speed, as you can see. Maxwell's going to have to come from a long way back, and he won't do it. He'll have to find somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where he's going to find, unless he can stay close enough into El Rouge and Radion. I don't think he's going to have much other options to try and get past here. It is going to be a Blanchiment run for Luke Maxwell, unless Darryl Taylor makes a drastic error. He had to dab the brakes halfway through Rivage, coming down into Nane now. So this is going to be an interesting one. He's going to be locked up right behind here. Can Maxwell get hold of Darryl Taylor? He's going to be close enough through Poulon to stay with him as he goes into Fagnier. So it's going to be even how he exits out of Fagnier, round Paul Ferrer, and then on to Blanchimont he goes. But if anywhere he's going to make the move, that's where it's got to be for Luke Maxwell. He hasn't got much room left, and he hasn't got a lot of time left. He's just got to now try and go for it.
Thankfully, not a lot of time left for John McCutcheon either, because he will be coming across the line very shortly to take the line. In fact, he's in the final chicane right now, out of the final turn, and for only the second time this season, it's a double race win in a singular round. This time, John McCutcheon winning again at Spar. Mike Bousson will close the championship margin as well to Simon Edwards, who's third, but he'll be pleased with his day. Luke Maxwell certainly won't be. He's looking to salvage anything he can now from the final moments on the outside line of Darryl Taylor. He breaks so much later and into the couple of corners where he's had so much trouble so far today. He will claim ninth place, or will he? It'll be a drag race to the line, and it will be Maxwell by 800ths of a second to take that ninth place ahead. Oh my goodness me, what has gone on there? Jocelyn got launched into the air, and I'm not quite sure how.
Yeah, well, I can tell you how. This. Not quite sure how he ended up where he is. Wayne Palmer goes round the outside, tries to almost pull a Maxwell. Now he's going to go up the inside and spin him. Yeah.
Yeah, but where's the launching part? Well, here we go. So he goes, tries to turn around, does a 3-point turn, clips the wall, and Phil Jocelyn is making Wayne Palmer wait quite some time here to re-give this position.
Yeah. And he goes on. There we go. He does do it. 7-point turn from Phil Jocelyn, and he gets through and overtakes Wayne Palmer there. But, well, there we go. Oh, and Paul Crabb is still coming across the line. There he goes, on his way down from Blanchimont. Well, that was a different way of giving a place back, wasn't it?
I don't think he had a lot of choice there, Wayne Palmer, but it was a bizarre one from Jocelyn, certainly. Thankfully, they had quite some distance to Glover and back to 13th, so they wouldn't lose any more time. Paul Crabb, though, over the line. It's only 17 points in this second race, so he's only going to score 37 on the day. And with Edwards finishing up there, he will lose 14 points in this race alone. And that is going to be a margin difficult to bring back. John McCutcheon wins both races, though, ahead of Mike Bousson and Simon Edwards on the podium. Seth Brown with a quiet race to 4th ahead of Jamie Bird. Then it's David Beasley in 6th place ahead of Michael LeMay. Sergio De La Cruz, Darryl Taylor and Luke Maxwell ran at the top 10. So Maxwell was 10th in the end. There we are. Phil Jocelyn, 11th ahead of Wayne Palmer. We saw them at the line. Then Phil Glover ahead of Paul Crabb, Paul Clark and Paul Godden rounding out your 16-car grid.
There you go.
Well, a couple of entertaining races, and let's get into a couple of chats with the drivers, shall we, as we bring John McCutcheon into the booth. It's only the second time this season, John, that somebody's been able to win both races in a night. You've become the second driver to do so. How are you feeling out there at Spar today, and how do you reflect on the last hour or so?
Yeah, really good, Ewan. That's the plan for the rest of the season now, to win all the races. I have to, I think, to have any chance of winning. So it's a good start tonight.
Oh yeah, we were talking about this a little bit earlier on stream. I don't know if you certainly don't mathematically have to, but certainly in realistic chances. How do you rate your chances going forward here? You mentioned that you're going to have to win a lot, but you know, can you see yourself being able to get enough points to still challenge for the title in 3 weeks' time?
I hope so. What's the rest of the tracks? I know North Slivers last, but I can't remember the next two.
We've got Bathurst next week and Imola the week afterwards. How are you feeling about those?
Good, yes, very good. Love those tracks, so yeah, I'm feeling confident. But
So-
I don't know if I can still win it or not mathematically. I think I've missed a few weeks.
You
So I
certainly
don't-
can still win it mathematically. He's still up there, but as you say, probably needs some more wins. Before we let you go, John, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Just shout out to the RRS guys and gals for the racing, the leagues they put on. It's always good racing. Hard for
Absolutely
sure.
is. Thanks very much for joining us once again, John, and congratulations on a double win tonight.
Thanks, Ewan.
Thanks very much, John McCutcheon there. Double win here on the evening at Spar. Let's have a chat to Mike Booston as well, who was second in race 2, a little bit further down in race 1, but made up for it. Mike, welcome to the move as well. Couldn't quite get over your teammate in the end there, and he did overtake you a few laps before the end. It looked pretty hard to overtake out there. Was that the reality?
Yeah, I was first race. A Spar is not good for me for no reason I can really fathom. So I was sort of happy just to sort of hold on for sprint, and then obviously really lucky in the second race because obviously people got out of the way for me. Paul, what was it? John came for me, and I thought myself, I'd let him, not let him by, but I wasn't going to fight too hard and manage to slot in. I thought it's going to be no time before Simon gets me, but I just about managed to hold on. So back to my P2. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, you gained a couple more points on Simon Edwards. You're only 8 back now in the championship. How are you feeling about the final 3 rounds, championship-wise?
You'll have to refresh my memory what's coming up, but it will be a hard slog, I think, for me to make too much of a progress on Simon.
I'll tell you, it's Bathurst and Imola before the Nordschleife finale. How are you feeling about those?
Bathurst, I'm pretty strong at Bathurst, but I know Simon was very strong there. Imola, not a track that I particularly have had any great results on. And if we're doing Nordschleife, well, might as well write that one off for me.
Well, we'll see. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go, Mike?
I'll give it a Team Radline. It was fun trying to hold on to John. Well, I thought myself I still had a chance of getting him, but I'd had a slight slide on T1 on the last lap and wrecked my own chances because I pushed it that little bit too far. But it was a good effort.
Yeah, it was good to watch as well. So congratulations, Mike, on second place, and thanks for chatting to us again.
Yep. Thank you, lads. See you soon.
Thanks very much, Mike Booston there. Second place in race 2, and I think second place in both races today was Simon Edwards. I don't remember race 1 already. Was he second or third? I can't even remember. But anyway, we'll bring him in now. Retaining the championship lead. Simon, welcome to the move again. Good to have you with us. Third. Oh dear. Sorry.
Oh, that was a horrible noise, wasn't it?
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. I heard it as well. How do you assess that race, particularly race 2, Simon, where you were just sat in third place for quite some time?
I was stuck. This is why I hate this car. I had just a tiny bit of damage, but it was just enough that I couldn't quite get enough pace on them, up the straight. I was trying to set Mike up through the first corner, but I kept either nearly running into him or in the end I nearly spun it trying to do it. So yeah, it was apart from the first lap, it was pretty non-eventful.
Yeah, it was the front. I've got to ask you, where did you pick the damage up from?
From the spaceship that was Paul Crabb.
Right. Okay. I did wonder whether I thought you'd gone under him. Somebody went under him.
I did, but when I look back at the replay, I could
Okay.
see as it goes over the top of me, I get the damage on the back. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and
Okay,
it's back
well,
right, Ewan.
fair enough.
Back right.
Okay, I didn't actually notice it at the time, but there we are. It was quite a moment, I've got to say. But anyway, you still came out with third. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go, Simon?
I'm a bit annoyed that I managed to clip Jamie there in that second race, so I'll give Jamie a shout out and hope he has a better race next race. It just slowed a bit too much, and I couldn't slow out any more into the corner, and spun him into just at the end of Lacombe.
Yeah. Luckily, we didn't fully catch it on stream, so your blushes have been spared there slightly. But no, it's absolutely fine. Simon, congratulations on another good evening for yourself, and thanks for chatting to us again.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks very much, Simon Edwards, joining us there, retaining his championship lead ahead of the likes of Paul Crabb, who has put himself in the waiting room. We can bring him in now as well. Paul, commiserations on that second race, particularly. Just tell us a little bit about what happened from your perspective.
Oh, I went side by side through Eau Rouge with John, and I had to lift a bit coming up towards the top. And I was staying on the right hand side, and then I got clouted from the right hand side, and I didn't know that that Paul Clark was beside me until I heard, car right, and then was thumped. But Paul Clark got a really good run up Eau Rouge, so I'm unfortunately he was running out of track. He'd gone into the exit area. So it was just one of those things. I can't be too hard on Paul about that one. So.
Fair enough. I've got to say, me and James were discussing it and whatever, and who was at fault and whatever. But fair enough. In terms of your race overall and how this affects the championship, you are going to be, by my calculations anyway, 21 points off of Simon Edwards by this point. Is that a margin you can still, pull back and manage with in the final 3 rounds?
Oh, only if Simon was to take terribly ill.
Not wishing that, of course.
Absolutely not wishing that at all. No. Simon's been driving brilliantly, so I will try my best, and hopefully we'll see what happens. It's just good racing.
We will. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go, Paul?
Just you guys, really, for doing a fantastic job. I rewatched the streams in the evening, and they're great. It's just great entertainment. So good job, guys.
Thanks very much, Paul. Commiserations on your race here this afternoon, particularly the second one, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yeah. Okay. See you next week.
Thanks very much. Paul Crabb joining us there, despite all that he's been through here today. I want to bring in Paul Godden before we go any further here, because he started on pole for the second race, but unfortunately didn't go so well. Paul, welcome to the booth as well. Good to have you here. Tell us a little bit about the first lap for yourself, because I saw you speaking in the Discord afterwards about having problems on that one in particular. Just what happened there?
Yeah, no, I was really pleased to be on pole position, and thought just keep it clean tonight, and get a good result, maybe about 5th or 6th, something like that. Got a really good start. I've been working on the starts, and that's gone really well. And I was leading the first lap and thought, it's not. I think it was Michael come up the inside of me, and I wasn't expecting it, and I backed up a bit too much. And I think Wayne unfortunately hit the back of him and spun him round. And I thought, I've got a bit of a gap here. Just keep it clean. And then come into the last corner, hit the brakes just after my normal point, and it didn't stop. And I went straight on, locked up as well. And then I was going to come back on the track, and I saw all the cars coming and thought better of it. I thought there's not enough gap to get in, so I'll take the slow down. Got the slow down, tried to slow down as much as I can, and without stopping in the middle of Eau Rouge, I would have and literally stamped on the brakes. I ended up with a black flag, and that was it. Race over. So it was a very short race tonight, unfortunately. But it's the third time it's happened this season. I cannot seem to stop the car with heavier fuel for some reason. I've been practicing with it, and it's fine. As soon as I get to the race, something's not clicking with me. So I need to work on that for later in the season.
And speaking of the rest of the season, what are your aims for the rest of this? I mean, can we see you on the podium maybe in one of these races, a race win? What are you trying to achieve?
The main thing is just to get quicker each race. I've got the people that I know they were quicker than me beginning of the season, and I'm now on the pace of them, or sometimes a little bit ahead. It depends what track we're at. I would like to maybe make about half a second a lap on the people around me where I want to be, and just learn as we go along. I think a podium you might get a reverse grid podium, but that's not my aim. The aim is to learn the car, learn the people, learn how to race them, and just enjoy it really. So that's the main thing.
It certainly is. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go, Paul?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out to yourself and James for the great broadcast. It's always great to watch you back the next day. And again, I always like to say the drivers and also the admin of the league making it a really fun, enjoyable race meeting each week. And obviously the drivers, you look at the times, they're fairly close between a couple of groups. So it doesn't matter where you are in the pack, you seem to have a good race. So yeah, it's a really fun league to be part of, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
We certainly are as well. Paul, commiserations on second race in particular here tonight, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yeah, no worries. Cheers.
Thanks very much, Paul Godden, chatting to us there. And finally, got a lot of interviews today, haven't we? We've got Phil Glover to join us as well, as he always does. Phil, welcome to the move as well. Good to have you here. The first question I've got to ask you is, how on earth did you get through that one? Because it was carnage sometimes.
One advantage of being at the back, isn't it? There aren't many, but that is one of them. Yes, all I could see was smoke, although by the time I got there, the smoke had cleared up and the medics had been on track and everybody had gone off to wherever they needed to do. So, yeah, I mean, second race, I think I got up to 8 by default because everybody else fell off. But it was a bit upsetting to see them all pass me again. Luke was on my back end as well, and it wasn't his fault, but it put me under a bit of pressure, and I think that's where it all went south for me, really.
Well, I don't think you can take any shame in Luke Maxwell passing you, to be fair.
No.
It's difficult to keep behind. I mean, in terms of that big battle, Phil, I've got to say we were thoroughly enjoying watching it from our perspective. It was great fun to watch. But what was it like to be a part of there? It was you didn't spend a lot of that race on your own, especially towards the first half.
Yeah, it was okay. I'm getting used to. So I've got new pedals on today. So the Fanatec V3s, which I'm just getting used to, and I fitted motion compensation yesterday as well. So actually, I'm running out of excuses now because the motion compensation's really helped, and the pedals should do, but I guess they take a little bit of time to get used to, don't they?
They certainly would do, I can imagine. Is there anything you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go, Paul? Phil? Oh, God.
Yeah, give a shout out to Phil.
There's too many Pauls in this championship, I'm telling you. I'm getting everyone mixed up. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Well, for Mike, because for Mike, it's a win, isn't it? Second place is absolutely where he normally likes to be. So, well done, Mike.
Absolutely. Phil, thanks very much for chatting to us again, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Thanks very much. Phil Glover chatting to us there at the end of the race. Let's see if I can get people's names right. That would be a good start, wouldn't it? That was slightly embarrassing. But anyway, that's it for Spar by looks of things, and another very interesting round. I've got to say the most interesting thing I pulled from that was Paul Crabb not blaming Clark at all for the incident that they had, despite. If I saw that back and I was Crabb and I was a driver, I might be pretty aggrieved about that. But he wasn't placing any blame at all there, really. A very tricky one indeed, but we'll see. It doesn't seem there's going to be too much bad blood between them, and they'll be able to get on with things next week. Speaking of which, we'll be at Mount Panorama and Bathurst. It's going to be a fantastic couple of races to see who can come out on top and conquer the mountain next week. Make sure you join us on the JPB YouTube channel and subscribe, of course, because there's loads of fantastic racing going on throughout the week. For now, though, that's going to do it here from us at the Radical Race Series. Until next week at Bathurst, I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside James Parfitt this evening, and we'll see you in 1 week's time. Goodbye.